Welcome to the Writer at Work podcast. Ms. Catherine M.H. and Kit Boyer are your co-hosts. They will be bringing you updates on their journey to becoming full-time authors, as well as writing advice, book reviews, and information to help you on your road to authordom. Join these authors as they work on their writing careers.
Hello and welcome to the Writer at Work podcast. I am your host, Kit Boyer, and with me, as always, is your other host, Miss Catherine M.H. And today, we are changing things up. Our episode today is on habits and routines. It's a process episode. And I think we will start off with you, Kate. Can you tell us about your habits and routines?
Absolutely. So normally I start our podcast. Okay. So habits, routines. I'm trying to think of if there's really a big difference between those two words for me. And I want to say no. So for me, I guess I treat them the exact same way. So, for me, habits and routines, let's see. Well, you guys might know of my slopper tradition, and that is my slipper socks, which I call sloppers because they're not quite slippers, but they're also not quite socks either. So, that's a big one. I usually will wear them. I have 4 pairs. So I will usually have one of those on my feet. I like to light a candle. That's really sets the environment for me, like we've talked about, or we will be talking about in our environment episode. Mm-hmm. So those are 2 that you guys might know about. And then from there, I have a drink habit. There we go. That's a habit that will happen depending on the genre that I'm writing.
Ooh.
So certain drinks aren't allowed to be cross-contaminated. Which sounds so weird. But okay. So if I am editing, that is the only time I am allowed to drink both hot chocolate and tea during that process. So that's the only time that it can mix up. I don't mind because I'm editing. So for me, if I am writing my steampunk, it's a cup of tea. A hot cup of tea that'll eventually, or I make a whole pot of tea. And that pot of tea will eventually become cold tea. So tea is the drink of choice, and it's white tea, by the way, in case anybody wants to know. It is the drink of choice if I am writing my steampunk world. If I am writing my space opera, it is hot chocolate. Hot chocolate is allowed to be made, and I can drink it when I am writing my space opera. My water world is interesting because that one I was trying a drink. They're called vanilla steamers. And if you've never had a vanilla steamer, imagine a vanilla milkshake that's hot. It sounds really weird, but it is milk that is sweetened with vanilla syrup.
Okay.
So but it tastes like a milkshake, but it's hot. Is the best way to describe it. It's super strange, very delicious if you like vanilla ice cream. So for my water world, I will drink sweet milk. So, and that could be cold or hot for me. So sometimes I will be drinking my sweet milk while writing the story and it'll be cold. In that case, it's just me putting vanilla coffee creamer in my milk. And then for other sci-fi stories, so occasionally I will be doing my cyberpunk and stuff like that. Those are anything that I'm testing to be hey, are you going to become a story? I will drink iced chai too. Yes. And that's the only time I'm allowed to drink it. And is if I'm doing like those testings. And I should say, like, it's not the only time I'm allowed to drink it. It's if I'm working on something. That is the only drink that, like, I should be drinking. Because if I start suddenly drinking hot chocolate while I am writing my steampunk, I will feel that urge because I've made it almost into that routine of if I have my hot chocolate, I am writing my space opera. And my mind will start to think about the space opera instead of the steampunk. And it's the same thing that if I start drinking a cup of tea while writing my space opera, I will start writing my steampunk. So for me, drinks are a very big habit.
Interesting. It's like burning it into your memory and your, even your muscle. It's like a muscle memory thing then to create that memory of this taste and smell is associated with this story. And then,
Yes.
yeah, and then your body expects that and then follows suit. That's really cool.
Yeah. It could be annoying though. Because sometimes you really want a cup of hot chocolate.
Yeah.
I guess I should say most of this comes from the idea that I can't have a cup of coffee, so I can't drink caffeine. And a lot of writers really enjoy making a cup of coffee. And everybody who, you know, like when you're looking up stuff and you're like, what do they do? And everybody was like, and then I make myself a cup of coffee and I sit there with my hot drink and I'm smelling it. It's putting me in the mood. And I was like, but I can't drink coffee. So I came up with, I guess, my own, sort of accidentally, by the way, that really wasn't my intention, but it has become such a habit that, especially like if I go to a cafe, I have to get the drink to what I'm writing. Or like, if I'm getting that drink, then, well, that just changed my whole writing day. Like,
Yeah.
So that's a thing for me. Is definitely the drinks. So the drinks, and other than those hot ones, like I can have water, I can have juice, I could have like an Arizona iced tea, no problem in between them. It's really the hot drinks versus that chai. If I'm drinking chai, it's like brand new story ideas all the time. So yeah, those are some big ones. Candle, sloppers, and my drinks. A new one that I've started recently is I use Focusrite.
Okay.
And I have images. So yeah, so it mutes everything on your screen. It's really difficult to get back out of it until you learn the shortcuts, and then it's not as difficult. But it is still difficult because it eliminates everything else on your screen. Not that it's actually closing it out, but you can't see it. So what's left on the screen is whatever picture you want as your background, and you're writing over it. So I've now trained, so I made that habit into my routine of this one picture equals this story. So now if I'm looking at that background, it will trigger my mind to be like, this is the story we're writing. So I have a steampunk one. I have some of my space opera. I've really got to find one for my cyberpunk. And I found one for my prehistoric story that I've started. So once I have that up, I can change the background picture, get stuff set, make my drink, have my candles lit, have my sloppers on my feet, have my music playing, and I am good to go.
When you're writing at home and you are listening to music, do you listen to it on headphones or do you just play it on your computer speakers?
So I usually will play it just on my computer speaker unless my boyfriend is home, and if he's in the middle of doing work. So if he's doing schoolwork or if he's getting stuff ready, then I'll put them on my headphones. But usually I will just listen to it out in the open. It doesn't really bother me. He doesn't seem too bothered by it. Usually if I'm working, he's in a different room anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah. It's only when I'm really out in public will I put the headphones on. And sometimes if I'm out in public and it's a spot that people will know me, I will have headphones in and visible headphones so people don't bother me.
Nice.
They might not be playing anything. I just don't want to talk to you. I'm here for writing. Like,
That's good to let them know. Have a cue that they can see.
yeah.
That lets them know, hey, busy. I think my husband
They
tries
can
to
still
do that.
walk up to your table.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. He tries to do that at home because he works from home, and I go in and I see that he's on his headphones, and then I just go in and start talking to him. So, gotta tell him my 7-hour long dream. Sorry, my 7-hour long rendition of a 5-minute dream. That's what I
There you
need
go.
to relay that immediately. Doesn't matter what he's working on. No, I try to be considerate, but I do love that he works from home. And he does think my dream stories are really long, but I have really vivid dreams. So I don't know what he wants from me. Not to tell him my dream? That would be ridiculous. How would I know it happened if I didn't
course.
tell him, you know?
So
Anyway.
do you have writing habits or routines that you follow?
Yeah, so going back to what you said at the very start, the difference between habits and routines. For me, a habit is an independent item. So like a bulleted list, right? Like it's just a bullet point. But a routine is a numbered list. So routines are time dependent or task dependent. If I have several habits that I do in a row regularly, that's a routine. If I just sometimes I happen to do something, that's a habit. So, you know, forgetting to turn off the oven, habit. Consistently.
I would hope that's not a habit. No.
Consistently, you know, checking that the doors in the house are locked after waking up in the morning and then brushing my teeth, you know, like doing things in a row, those are routine to me. So I do have both habits and routines, but I think saying this out loud, I'm kind of, this is going to be like a stream of consciousness more than usual because I'm just coming up with this idea now that I've said that.
Go for it.
I think like flexibility is super duper 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 important. And I don't always, I'm not always super flexible, but I try to be. And I think the key to flexibility is learning to rearrange your habits. So if each item on a list is a habit and the list itself is the routine, instead of having to stick to that routine, can you mix and match your habits? And that, I think, is what possibly is the key to my flexibility and my ability to write during odd times and when I don't feel comfortable, you know, writing or something. I think the key is just mix and matching habits to create new routines. Yeah. So my current routine for writing is, I mean, like, I don't really have one. I just have a writing habit that I try to keep. At some point during the day, I do want to write. I have a lot of chores. I've been trying this new cleaning thing, and I have the toddler at home, and my 2 older kids are at school. My husband works from home. We've got rats that are pets, not just like in the house running around. They have a cage and everything. So
I was about to be like, wait, when did you get rats in the house? And I was like, oh, right, pets.
Yeah. We have 4 pet rats, and they are very cute.
Only 4? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
we had more. One of them had babies because she came to us pregnant, but then we you know, rehomed the babies. So now we just have 4. But anyway,
Nice.
I have a lot of stuff is what I'm saying, and the kids have appointments randomly throughout the week, and I have, you know, a job that I do randomly throughout the week, and sometimes there's a weird, you know, suddenly there's a toddler play date at the library. So I need to be flexible, but I don't want to have to be, honestly. I would like to wake up in the morning, do my normal small cleaning routine, go downstairs and eat and take my pills and then get to writing. That's what I would love to do. But what ends up happening during the day is that I spend the entire morning doing chores and chasing the toddler around. And then around his nap time, if I still have the mental energy, maybe I can write while he's listening to music on my computer, while I'm like laying next to him while he's like trying to nap, basically trying to get him to nap. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I can sometimes squeeze in about, 45 minutes or an hour writing while he's falling asleep. And then, it's, I said all that stuff that I have, but I also have chronic migraines, which really kick in afternoon somehow. It's like worse afternoon. And I have ADHD, so I take a methylphenidate, which is Ritalin, kind of early in the morning. And that lasts for about 4 hours. But it stays in your system for about 4 hours, I guess. But it really only lasts for me for about 3 hours. So I have about 3 hours after I take that pill to get mentally challenging tasks done. And if my writing is a mentally challenging task, then I must get that done in the morning. So if the baby goes to sleep at noon, I'm pushing it. I'm pushing my brain to the limits. And then I know in the afternoon I'm going to have a migraine. I might need a nap. And then, as soon as the kids get home at 3, I have to start dinner. Because I take forever to cook anything. So that is my day, and I try to squeeze in writing where I can. Some tips I do have is linking one habit to another to create a routine. So in the morning, I like to, as I said, open up the curtains, make my bed, get dressed, brush my teeth. That's the order I like to do it in. If I do that in that order, then I feel like I've gotten my day off to a good start. I've already started tidying something, it doesn't feel like it, but making your bed is like an act of tidying. So... Oh
my God, it's amazing.
Yeah. So...
I have learned that over the last 2 months.
Yeah, you've been making your bed more often, right?
Oh, it's been wonderful.
Yeah. So it
also helps with my writing. I don't know why, but I do trigger bed is made too cool. You can get to certain writing stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. Doing certain chores, feeling like at least some of my chores are done makes it feel like I'm allowed to write. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I totally feel that. But yeah, so link one task to another if you can, but be flexible. If you can't do one of those tasks, can you skip to the next thing? If you need to one day skip out on a small routine, can you get back into the rest of your daily routine once you come home? That sort of thing. So instead of creating one very long daily routine, create tinier routines that you can do in 5, 10, 15 minutes, half an hour or an hour or whatever, so that you can... you know what this is like? This is like a random thing. However... This is sort of like when you learn the alphabet, and some people, if you ask them, what letters after T, they have to go through the entire alphabet in their head and say, okay, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and they have to go all the way to T to figure it out. But and I think many other people, I hope, when I learned the alphabet, I learned it in chunks. So instead of having to go from A all the way to T to figure out what comes after T, I can start somewhere near T, right? Because I could say T-U-V. I know that set of letters together means something.
Wow, I cannot do the T one. I have to go all the way back to the L.
Yes, but
or O.
You do have chunks, though, right? You do have chunks of the alphabet.
I definitely cannot do the T. You were telling me, and I was like, yo, what's the closest letter to that? And I was like, definitely LMNOP.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, definitely that zone.
Yeah. That sounds like my toddler's screaming in the background, but I will push through anyway. I think he's probably upset that he's going to nap time.
Oh, poor guy.
Yeah. So sad that he has to rest his tiny little brain so he can be smarter and stronger and healthier. Also lucky, right? Gets to nap. But yeah, so try to take things in chunks, and then it'll make it easier to start wherever you can instead of having to start at the beginning every time and feeling like there's no possible way I can get anything done today because I have to start at the beginning, I have to go open my curtains and then do every single task, and you get overwhelmed and whatever. Just like chunk things. These habits stick together, they make a small routine. These other habits stick together, they make a small routine. That gives you flexibility. That means that you don't have to go all the way back to A every single time, you've missed something. Yeah, I think that's all I really have to say.
Okay. I have a few other little things for habits and routines. Because of the way my work was originally, I was running between jobs. So I would have about 3 to 4 jobs at one given time. So on some days I was running between, that sounds bad.
Yep.
I know it sounds bad, but the entire day equaled out to if somebody was just at one job for the entire day.
Yeah.
So it was just, for me, I had it built into chunks, so I was only at one job for 4 hours, one job at 2 hours, whatever. Anyway, so for me, those small little habits that I had talked about originally only work if I'm in 2 zones. So it works on if I'm in my house or if I have gone to a cafe. If I am outside of those zones, there is very little, I'm also very lucky at the sense that I can write almost anywhere I am.
Mm-hmm.
If I really push through it, I can write in the car. I can sit on my phone, I can type it up, I can go.
While somebody else is driving you.
Yes. I should very much say that. So yeah, I do not. Nope. Phones, I will yell at anybody I am in the car with if they touch their phone while they are driving. So there is that idea that, hey, I can write anywhere I am. That's fine for me. Like I said, it does take me sometimes a little bit to get into writing, but give me 5 minutes and I'll be writing. You can set me up in a bar and I will be writing. You can put me in a restaurant and I will be writing. You can put me on a beach, I will be writing. So these are all places I have written in before. The biggest thing for me, if I'm trying to write in a location where my things aren't around me, I usually will have my phone. Most of the time, I do actually have my laptop with me. I have a Surface Pro. It is extremely lightweight, very easy for me to travel with. Battery life is pretty darn good. So in that case, because I do use Focuswriter, I don't need the internet to write as much. I was using Google Docs a lot more. Now I don't. So as a habit that has now definitely become a routine of mine, if I am writing and I have finished a chapter, it is mandated to be backed up immediately. Mm-hmm. So I have the routine of, I use OneNote. A chapter will immediately go into there. A chapter will go into a Google Drive or a Google Docs masterpiece. And it will go into a Word document masterpiece that is up on the cloud. I have lost so much work in the past because, laptops break, stuff like that, that I now make backups of backups of I have way too many backups. Even Scandal's Pen, I think I have about 30 backups of my steampunk novels.
Wowee.
Yep. And it turned out that there was only one copy of that, by the way, that had the ending that I needed.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So every other copy I had looked into was missing the ending, except for the one weird random place I had put that copy, which was in OneNote. And that's where I was able to find it. Hence why I put everything in my OneNote. So I definitely have that habit now of, especially in OneNote, putting in that chapter, syncing it. It is now synced with my phone. So if I do really want to write something or edit something, bam, it's on my phone. It will be in my Google Docs, but like I said, if I don't have internet, OneNote is where it's going, because as soon as my phone gets internet, it will sync it. Or not my phone. My laptop will sync and it'll be on my OneNote. So that is definitely something I have made into a habit of, this is done, good. Now it is saved in a zone. And it is saved multiple times. So yeah, so if you are a person who likes to have a routine or a habit that they really need to have with them, make it something very small. For a long time, it really was just lighting a candle for me. So when I would go out and about, writing and not having that candle would kind of like trigger that annoying in the back of my mind that I don't have the candle lit, I don't need to write. So I got one of those little LED tiny tea light candles, stuck it in my bag, and then I would turn the thing on, stick it right next to the laptop, and I'd go when I was out in public.
Oh.
And so it's something that small that you can have. If it's a flavor, carry that candy with you. Put it in your, like, I don't know, emergency bag. Like, I don't know if you carry an emergency bag. I carry like a little tiny, like, here are my allergy meds. Here is some Tylenol if you need. Here are some feminine products.
That's a good idea.
Put your candy right on in there. So definitely look to see, especially if you need to be out and about often, what is a small thing that will trigger you to be like, cool, this means I can do my writing. So that's what I have to say for that.
Yeah. I had a quick question for you about writing when you're out. Do you feel like
Sure.
it's maybe like slightly more challenging to write at home than it is to write out because you have responsibilities at home? But when you're out, like if you were out at a bar or out with, not with friends, but like at a cafe or something, you don't have those same responsibilities as you do when you're at home. Like you don't look around the bar and be like, oh my God, I gotta clean this. Ugh.
It depends. I mean, I will write while I'm out with friends.
Yeah.
There are definitely times where they're like, Catherine, I'm like, I put the phone down, it's fine. I just had an idea, I had to write the sentence real quick. But no, if I am procrastinating on cleaning the house, then I am definitely writing. If I am stuck or don't like the scene that I have to write, then I'm definitely cleaning my house and will need to leave my house in order to write.
Yeah.
So I will find that. So I think it doesn't quite matter for me. The cafe I used to write at, I used to also work in.
Yeah.
So when something would come up, they'd be like, hey, can you come over and help me out real quick? So like there were things like that where I'd be like, yeah, hold on, let me hop on work real quick. So no, I think it equals for me anyway, either one, because I have done it for so long.
Yeah.
That I could hop between like, hey, I'm at this job and I have 10 minutes, so I'm writing real quick. Or, hey, I'm bartending and nobody's in for an hour, I'm writing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Got anything else?
Some people like to use a body double or like a writing buddy.
Oh, yes. Body doubles are amazing.
Yeah. I don't like that for writing for me. Because again, I know I've said this before, but I feel always like I'm being observed and I don't like actually having somebody observe me. I can't concentrate on writing because I'm concentrating on like, am I smiling correctly? Am I smiling too much? Are they looking at me? They're not looking at me because I don't have my camera on. Are they thinking, why doesn't she have her camera on? What kind of smile does she have? Like, I don't know why my brain does this, but it does. So I can't write with somebody else around. Or if I do, it's like very superficial, usually writing that I'm not going to keep. Also hard to write with, like on a Zoom chat or something because I've got kids, so there's just like people running around and yelling in the background.
That's interesting. See, I enjoy the idea that people are gonna look at me and know I'm a writer.
Yeah.
Like Like, I like to sit there if I'm doing something weird, if I'm like listening to the way my skin sounds, if I'm like rubbing it.
Yeah.
I'm like, whatever, I'm gonna be as weird as I can be. And then if anybody gives me a look, I'm gonna be like, what? I'm a writer. And immediately they're like, oh, okay. Like, so.
I'm not even worried about
interesting.
like the writing part. Like, of course I would love, I wouldn't love people to know that I'm a writer, but that's fine if they know I'm a writer. But it's more like just existing in the world. I feel that way. Like, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. It's just like I'm walking to work, and literally I walk on a road that, like, I mean, people live on it, but it's during the workday and not many people are home and nobody's on the road. And I'm walking home from work and I'm like, oh, like, you know, I don't want to make a frown because the trees will see that I'm frowning. Literally stuff like that. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I know it doesn't make any sense, but it doesn't make me feel less self-conscious. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm like doing life wrong, and if people see that I'm doing it wrong, they're gonna. I don't even know if I feel like they're gonna judge me. It's more just the idea that they are observing in the first place. It's super weird. Anyway,
I mean,
so yeah.
For me, I'm that person who dances in line because I have my headphones on and I'm like, this song! And I'm like that person who's just dancing and everybody's like, what? But I'm also that person who, because of my ADHD, I will observe people. So I will stare down somebody and watch their every movement. So yeah, no, maybe I get what you're saying.
I observe people too.
See, I'm that person who would watch you and be like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think if it were
Why
you
did she
watching
move
me, I
like
wouldn't
that?
feel self-conscious. Maybe that's what I should think of when I go outside next time. Instead of being like, everybody's watching me, I should be like, Kate's watching me, and then I'll just be
Catherine's
the
watching
most
me everywhere.
ridiculous. Yeah. Super outlandish.
All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up unless you've got anything else.
Nope, I don't have anything else.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. Like, subscribe. The social stuff will be in the show notes. Have a great week. Stick to your habit of writing, and you'll hear from us next week during our, routine showing.
Bye.